You know what I'm saying? So, boom. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk some about AEW. This will be the first time I'm actually talking about AEW on my channel. I feel like, why not kind of let it be known how I feel and where I stand on this company. Just, overall, since this is obviously a wrestling channel and there is another major wrestling company out there, if you can even call it that, that being All Elite Wrestling. So, Dynamite, AEW, that is. Sorry, I'm a little bit just kind of all over the place. I'm a little bit jumbled. Just kind of got in. So let me kind of gather my thoughts here as I go into this whole thing. AEW, I think we can all kind of admit right now is in the shitter. Much like WWE. WWE they've been pretty much what they are for the past 10 years or so, 10 or 15 years. They're just going to continue to make more money every single year. It doesn't really matter. AEW, on the other hand, they have yet to really, as far as I'm aware, I don't know that they've turned a profit yet. They got renewed for their TV rights deal, their media rights deal. I have no idea how. I looked recently online to find out that Dynamite has drawn like the lowest viewership that it's ever had. Right? And that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot because AEW's lows they're pretty fucking low, man. They're pretty damn low. Dynamite, when they first debuted, drew like what, a 1.4? I mean, that's more than fucking SmackDown does on USA on average these days. If AEW was somehow able to retain much of that audience. I mean, AEW, they'll never truly be competitive with WWE in the sense that like they'll never outdo their business. You know what I mean? But at least in terms of the TV show, at least in terms of the on-air product, which is what I think they really need to be focused on as far as like competing, so to speak. If they still were able to put on a decent show, it's not like they ever did in the first place, but if they had maintained some of that viewing audience, then they could very easily be competitive with Raw and SmackDown. We don't even know what the fuck Raw does. They do like what, 2.6 globally over the course of a week. Kind of talking a little bit too much about WWE. This is about AEW. That just kind of goes to show, I feel like, where my head is at as far as AEW is concerned. I don't really care too much for this company. I don't really think too much about this company. I a lot of times forget that there's even a second wrestling promotion out there because never throughout the week for a single fleeting second does this fucking jabroni pissant promotion ever cross my mind. Again, I just figured why not go ahead and do a video because I haven't done one thus far, but AEW, they had a pretty strong chance at the start. I was very optimistic about this company. I was very optimistic. It came at a time when WWE, they really needed a kick in the ass, man. They really needed something. Wrestling needed something because things were just so dry. Around 2018, 2019, that late Vince McMahon era into the 2010s, right before the pandemic, right before the bloodline, WWE was just so fucking dry, man. The wrestling just felt so dry. All there was WWE. It had been that way basically since TNA, shot themselves in the foot years earlier. They ended up on Destination America. So for a long time, there really was no other product, so to speak, to check out. Like you were very in the vast minority if you were watching Impact still in like 2018 or 2019. If you were watching Ring of Honor, you were even more of a minority. If you were watching New Japan, again, you were in a very vast minority, man. How many people in the States actually have New Japan World or had it in like 2017 or whatever? Like what, 40,000? I mean, come on. Compared to the audience of Raw and SmackDown at that time, which was about a couple million. AEW, I feel like, had a real chance to grab a lot of those fans who were disgruntled, who, were lapsed fans, a lot of people who just were more than willing to give something new and fresh a try. But we didn't get anything new and fresh. All we got was basically just big budget indie wrestling. That's all we got. We were promised all these things. It was going to be it was going to be this melting pot of different styles. They made it like a badge of honor almost that they're like basically going to be indie wrestling, but for the masses. But the problem is you cannot make indie wrestling for the masses, because indie wrestling is it's been exactly where it was meant to be this entire fucking time, which is in bingo halls, bro, because that shit does not draw. People like fucking Kip Sabian, people like fucking Danhausen, these people are where they are because these people are fucking amateurs. It's as simple as that. These guys do not belong on national television. Sammy Guevara, I'm sorry, does not belong on national television. It's a fucking joke. It's a fucking embarrassment. It's been that way since day one. I don't get now how people like to act like AEW just got bad. Like, oh, you know, what happened to the good old AEW? What happened to the good old Dynamite? There never was such a thing. There never was. AEW from day one has been hot garbage, bro. I watched Dynamite for those first few years, and especially during the time when people like to act like they were, damn near peak wrestling. I see some people saying that Dynamite in like 2021 was like some of the best wrestling that we've ever seen, bro. Comparing it to the Attitude Era, comparing it to like SmackDown in 03. Are you shitting me, man? You have to be off your fucking rocker if you genuinely, truly believe that. And the scary thing is, I think that these people do. And if it's your cup of tea, it's your cup of tea. But the fact is most people don't really care for it. They don't really like that kind of stuff. There's a reason why what sells and what doesn't. You know, WWE is McDonald's. You can try to push and promote and fucking, do whatever you can to say that, I don't know, Wendy's is number one. You know what I mean? You can give them the budget or whatever. But the fact is McDonald's will still be the thing that sells, even if it's not, again, the best or whatever. But I don't know, maybe not the best analogy, but you see what I'm getting at, man. WWE, even at their worst, I would still take them over AEW, because at least WWE, they're not going to stoop to the level of having like a fucking legless man and a battle royal. You know what I mean? You'll never see something as ridiculous as Sunny Kiss on WWE television. You know what I mean? You're not going to see that kind of shit, bro. You're not going to see the sheer ridiculousness of someone like Riho beating Nyla Rose, who is this big beast, to become your first women's champion. You know, I knew very early on that AEW was going to be pigeonholed just based on their whole mindset and their whole philosophy behind the business. Those first couple pay-per-views, I talked in one of my previous videos about how I went to one of the early Dynamite shows, and I was very excited, man, because it was only like a month or two after the show had aired on television for the first time. So it's like, I go with a couple friends of mine, and it felt like a goddamn Comic-Con convention. I felt like a fucking furry convention that we were at, because the people that we were surrounded with, gave off the odor of goddamn people who probably never leave their basement, dude. That's the way it was, and that's the way it is. But now you just have less of them. That's the type of crowd that AEW draws. Even at the very start, when they still had a pretty decent sized audience, comparatively speaking, that was their fan base. Those are the kind of people who they attract. You have someone like Jon Moxley as your champion, who fancies himself as some kind of a badass, even though he does not look the part. He does not give off the vibe or the aura of someone who is a badass. And you get all these people who like to pretend, that they're charismatic, and all these wrestlers who basically think that they are better than they are. You get a bunch of the WWE cast-offs. You get your Miros, you get your Luke Harpers. These guys were mid in WWE, and they come over to AEW and they do fuck all. They do fuck all of nothing, actually. Aleister Black to Malachi Black. For years, they made it seem as if, Jon Moxley's in AEW, now he's unleashed. You know what I mean? Miro's in AEW, now he's unleashed. All these guys, they go to AEW, and what happens is they get the chance to do what they want. But the problem is, the stuff that they want to do is not worth a damn, man. Not worth a fuck at all. So you have people like Luke Harper, who his brilliant idea is basically to do a Vince McMahon parody, because this guy has not a single creative bone in his body, not for anything that people want to see. You have fucking Rusev, who was this Bulgarian brute in WWE, which is going to sell you a lot more tickets than this guy who bleaches his hair and wears a pink Mickey Mouse shirt on national television and has a video game playing gimmick. I've never heard of something so fucking preposterous in my life. I get that it's wrestling, but AEW stoops to a level of just sheer, just like, just not giving a fuck. It seems like you have people like Dan House and the Young Bucks, their entire gimmick is basically, hey, we don't take this serious and neither should you. Okay, well, fuck it. I won't watch then. How about that? Yeah, I'm definitely not taking it serious now, and neither are the probably nearly million people that you've lost from your debut. Your debut was literally your peak. When I saw the 1.4 million, I thought, okay, this is a pretty decent starting point, right? I think that's what a lot of people had in their mind was that, okay, this is something, this is a great number to build off of, basically. And they've not done that number since. So what does that tell you? They've basically gone downhill. It blows my mind the amount of money they spend on people like Okada and like Mercedes Moné who make no waves whatsoever. Nobody in that company's a draw. Not even Jericho's a draw. Jericho has embarrassed himself for the past 3 or 4 years in AEW. His first year or so when he was champion was not bad. But after he lost the title, Jericho basically became a parody of himself. And Jericho, he's always had kind of like a goofy, he's always had kind of like a goofiness to him anyway. But in AEW, when all shackles are off, you know what I mean? And you're just kind of allowed to do whatever the hell you want. That's not a good thing. One of their, slogans at the start was, it's like, it's wrestling made by the wrestlers or whatever. But that's not how it should be. You need creative people who actually are made for this shit, man. You can, if you had the Attitude Era and it was Stone Cold and it was Undertaker and people like that who were basically running the show themselves, and Vince McMahon and Vince Russo were not telling them anything, then it probably would have, sucked nuts. That's probably how that would have turned out. So you cannot give wrestlers creative control, bro. They are the actors. They are not the script writers. They're not the directors. They are the actors. They go out there and execute someone else's vision, In the case of like an Austin or like a Hogan or like a Taker or like a Rock, you can have them maybe kind of put input into their character. You know what I'm saying? You can have Stone Cold be like, you know what? I don't think my character would react this way or respond this way. And given his stature in the company, given his level in the company, I mean, that's understandable. That's reasonable. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, the final say should not come to the wrestlers. And Tony Khan, I feel like, is not someone who people look at as a boss that they respect to the level of a Vince McMahon, or that they even, I don't want to say fear, but when Vince was the boss, it went his way. Tony Khan, if he wants something to happen and you sign someone like Randy Orton, you think Randy Orton is going to listen to Tony Khan if he really wants to do something? Not even Vince McMahon can make fucking Brock Lesnar do what he wants to 100% of the time. What the hell do you think Tony Khan is going to do, bro, if he signs Brock Lesnar? What the fuck do you think the Young Bucks are going to do if they sign Brock Lesnar? Why do you think that it didn't work out when CM Punk joined the company, bro? There's no chance in hell why CM Punk would look at the Young Bucks as, equals, let alone a fucking boss. There's no reason. Could you imagine Randy Orton signing with AEW and the Young Bucks are his superiors? Could you fucking imagine that scenario? It's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. The mismanagement of this company from day one, making those fucking clowns EVPs. It's fucking mind-boggling, the mistakes that they've made and that they continue to make. And that's why I don't watch AEW. That's why I don't talk about it on this channel, because I've not watched a single episode of anything they've done in years. I don't care who they sign. You realize it does not matter if they sign Edge. You realize if they sign Brock Lesnar, if they sign John Cena, hell, if they sign The Rock, you realize it would not matter, because fundamentally, on a deeper, more philosophical level, AEW just is not something for me, and it's not something for most people, because that's why they draw 500,000 or so viewers, which again is fucking embarrassing. How is this even on television? Fucking TBS could literally run reruns of The Big Bang Theory, which they do, and it will draw twice as much, 500,000 or 600,000 viewers. This has to be one of the worst business decisions. Obviously, they know what they're doing. It's not my company anyway, so I don't really give a damn. But there's no way this show cannot be canceled. When I saw that Dynamite was only doing 5 or 600K, I was like, I have to see what Collision is doing, because it has to be doing half that. And they do maybe, I saw they did like 2 or 300K not very long ago. So this is just pitiful. This is just pitiful. This is just pathetic on every level. Nobody's watching this shit. You know what I mean? Like, think about the sheer amount of just, you know what I'm saying, mistakes that they've made to get themselves to this point. At least they were able to draw, like 800K to like 1 million or so, even when they were opposite NXT. Now they have no competition in prime time on a weeknight on a network like TBS, and they do 5 or 600,000. You might as well not be on television. The fact that this company has not been canceled off of TV is mind-blowing. But I guess when you're rich like the Khans and you have those type of connections, and you have someone like Shad Khan or Shahid Khan or whatever Tony Khan's father's name is, this guy basically says, I'm gonna die one day anyway, so why not just give my kids the money that they're gonna receive eventually anyway. So they're just pissing away money, man. They're just pissing away money. They wasted tens of millions on that video game, that very poor ass video game, which nobody played after like the first week or two. That's if you even purchased it. And you also need to realize too that AEW is not this known brand. Nobody knows what the hell All Elite Wrestling is. That's a terrible fucking name anyway. Why would you name your company after this jabroni ass, faction? What sense does that make, man? It doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't make any sense at all if you ask me. Nobody knows what AEW is, dude. I genuinely don't think everyone who watches WWE knows what AEW is. Like, are they really this big thing? No, it's not a known brand. Everyone, even if you think wrestling is the dumbest thing ever, everyone at some point has heard of or knows what the WWE name is. Nobody really knows what AEW is. It's kind of like when Kurt Angle was in TNA and he would get questioned at the airport when he was TNA champion, and people would ask him, hey man, what are you up to now that you're out of the wrestling business? Even though he was literally the TNA champion, and TNA at that point did like 2 or 3 times the ratings, or 4 times what Dynamite is doing now. So what does that tell you about where this company is? Nobody knows, nor do they give a fuck about AEW. 5 or 600K, even the numbers that WWE does are completely lackluster. So what does that tell you about Dynamite? That's less than a drop in the bucket. That means nobody gives a flying fuck at all. And, I think I've kind of said what I need to say there. So I'm going to just go ahead, peace the fuck up out of here, and catch you all in the next one.